So we're here with Sam Taggart, and I'm actually really excited to talk to Sam. Sam has worked with me for the past year and a half now, and has been an incredible entrepreneur. Created a door-to-door con event this past January that had over 1,000 people there, and I watched that whole thing take place. So we're gonna talk about that. What happened, Sam? We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Sam's also worked in the sales industry for years and years. Was the #1 sales rep for Vivint Solar. Vivint Alarm. Worked as our vice president at Solcius, and yeah, we have a lot of history together. So I was actually Sam's boss for almost 2 years.
Yep. He's a good boss, by the way. If you're listening to this, he's an awesome boss to have.
I really wanted to sit down and talk with Sam and just talk about your experience in really following your passion, what you were able to create with D2D Experts now and D2D Con, and just talk about some of the experiences that you had there, and also just talk about your experience in sales and just who you are. So, Sam, just first to ask, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from.
Yeah, I grew up in Park City. I was a ski bum and a snowboard bum, and
couldn't tell with the hair.
Yeah, no, it's like, this year's been terrible. This year is the worst. I think I've been once. I'm going tomorrow. But no, I went to high school in Fresno, California, and then all through high school I sold and painted addresses on the curbs. I was like a door-to-door guy from like age 11. You know what I mean? Like that's all I knew.
When did you find out you were good at it?
Right, like the first couple weeks, you know, my cousin takes me out and he's like, hey, we paint the address on the curb, let me show you, you can make some, you know, 20 bucks a pop. He's like, let me show you how to do it. And then he lets me loose and he's like, how'd you do today? And I was like, well, I sold like 10. He's like, wait, you made 200 bucks? I did like twice as many as him. And he goes, dang. And I was like, this is brilliant. So then I moved to California and I was like, hey, you don't mind if I copy your business model? Like, you know, he's like, no, you're not competing. You're in California. I was like, okay. You know, we're like 12 at this time, you know what I mean, like little. And I just started doing that, and then I started attracting my friends, and I had about 11 guys, like they were all buddies, just work for me consistently, and then take an override. And I built like the little like sales model as a high school, junior high kid, and made great money. I was able to pay for a lot of my mission, and you know, I could do whatever I wanted, playing sports through high school, and it was cool. It taught me I was good at sales, and I had a knack for, I call it the drug of, you know, commission, right? It's kind of like this high that you get. You're like, I got a sale, I just made more than I would have made in an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I did alarms right after high school, and I moved to Dallas and started selling there, and I didn't even know what alarms were, and I just picked it up. My first day I did really well, and then I didn't do super good the next week or two, but after that I got really good and just kept going and just said, this is my path. I need to stay in sales, I need to stay in business.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I went on a mission, I then came back and kept selling, and then just worked my way up to VP of you guys. So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, and so when we first met, you were actually working for one of our dealers, and I remember our first meeting. We went into that office, into that conference room, and just in talking with you, I knew right away you were going to be good. And I think I told you this. I said, I know why you're good at sales, and it was just because the way that you communicate and the way that you come across from the heart, and you're very trusting. And
it's the baby face.
It's the baby face. No, and I think that, you know, especially in door-to-door, where, you know, people are used to somebody coming to their door and there's already this barrier, this mistrust for that person that's in front of them. For whatever reason, you don't have that. You just have this calming effect about you when you talk to people. So I'm sure that helped you in your success as well.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit, because I know I've heard this story and I think it's really cool, how mindset and belief helps you specifically in door-to-door, because you shared a story one time that's really stuck with me when you first went to Dallas and you went out and you crushed it your first day and you really wanted to get right after and get to work selling. And then everybody was reporting their numbers, and I don't want to tell this whole story because I think it comes better from you, but your people started reporting their numbers and everybody did worse than you. and then that affected you the next week. So talk just a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, no, I think that was probably one of the most important lessons I've learned. So I show up to Dallas, I had no expectations. I'd never met the manager in person. Didn't even know what an alarm was. And on Friday night, I get there and he's like, all right, you want to settle in and take your bags out to your apartment and we can start up tomorrow. And I was like, no, like, I don't need 6 hours to go put my bags in my apartment. You know what I mean? We can keep them in the trunk and give me a shirt. Let's go. So he trains me. I see him get a couple sales. And then the next day he's like, all right, you're on your own. And I was like, wait, I don't even know how these things work yet. Like, okay. And he sends me out, and I sold 3 before lunch. And I call him, and I was like, hey, I need more paperwork. And he's like, what? Like, I need more paperwork. Did you mess up? I was like, no, like, I just sold 3, and I only brought 3 with me. He's like, what? You did 3? And I was like, well, how many have you done? He's like, I'm on 1. And I was like, oh, okay. So we go for lunch, and I get more paperwork, and I ended up doing 5 that first day. And anybody that knows alarms, like, to sell 5 alarms in a day is a lot. And, you know, I come back to the apartment, and I didn't know, you know, I was like, well, my manager just must be not having a good day. Like, you know what I mean? That was about it. It was like, oh, I must be, like, working as a manager or something, training. And I come back to the whiteboard, and it was like everybody had put their numbers from the day. We got back kind of last, and I see 1, 2, 3, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 4, 0, and I was like, 5. I did more than everybody in the entire office who had been there for 2 months. I showed up midway through the summer.
It was your first day.
It was my first day. And I was like, either they all suck or I just have to be really naturally good at this. Like, this has got to be a fluke. And I don't believe in flukes, right? I don't think that, like, I've never seen, and I've trained hundreds of alarm reps and solar reps, and I don't see anybody that fluke goes and gets 5. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen like that. So I said, well, it wouldn't just happenstake that I walked around and 5 people ended up signing a 5-year contract for this. But what happened is I just didn't have any barrier to what I was believing. And all of a sudden I said, hey, what's normal? Like, what does a normal first-year guy do when he comes out to the summer? And they say, well, if he could do 1 a day, that would be awesome for a new rep. You know, the really good ones, like experienced reps, are going to be doing 2 a day. And the first year guys, if they can work their way up, and usually the first week or so they might sell 1 or 2 a week, and then if they work themselves up to 1 a day, that's ideal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And the next week I went and did 5 in the week.
Same you did the first day.
Same I did the first day. And me being this prideful, ambitious 18-year-old, sitting there kind of like, what the heck, there's something wrong with me. I should be doing 5 every day. If I could do it 1 my first day, shouldn't I be getting better and better every day, right?
Yeah.
And I learned that it wasn't that I was naturally better or had more skills or I knew the product better. That's what didn't make me good. It was my belief of I'm going to go out there with an intention and I'm going to hit my intention. And when I had sold addresses on the curbs, I was doing 10 to 15 in a day. So for me to go from 10 to 15 to 5 was like, man, this is tough. Like, I'm used to bigger numbers here. I'm talking about
5 was a good number.
Yeah, and I was thinking, you know, $15 curb, you know, it's kind of not the same, but in my mind I kind of had that expectation. And it taught me something that our belief system and our mindset is really what dictates our result.
Yeah.
More so than our talent or our training or our this. And I had to reprogram my brain to forget what they all told me and the limiting belief that they wanted to put on me. And I then did better than everybody else in the office every week because I had to retrain my brain to be like, well, I don't need to pay attention to what y'all are doing because I know what I'm capable of.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you know, you could tell that when you went out to Dallas, you had a belief system in yourself and what you could do from day one because you wanted to get right to work, where I think most people...
Scary to get out there.
Scary to get out there. They want to go to the apartment and hang out and chill because I got to go knock a door and that's scary to get rejection and all that kind of stuff. You were expecting that if I go out there, I'm going to make sales right away. And then how many times, it's what you said, is happens to so many people so often, is other people's limiting beliefs. We place those things on ourselves and it holds us back.
Yeah, and the reality is it's just kind of this, I call it the middle class mentality or the average mentality, is most people want to feel good about themselves. And so if they place their limiting beliefs because they're not succeeding, on you, then it helps them feel better about their insecurities.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing as like, you know, the average person, they're going to point their fingers at the guy that's making millions a year, and they're going to be like, well, he was blah, 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 or he got lucky, or blah, blah, you know, his dad, or he...
To make themselves feel better about them.
Exactly. And
yeah.
then it's like, oh, well, now I feel good. Instead of being like, no, he worked a lot harder than you did, and he did some things right, and you're not willing to do those things, so just own up to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, we justify it. And so if we start surrounding ourselves with people that have this mindset of like, I call them the lobsters a lot of times because they're just sitting there pulling you back down in the bucket.
Yep.
You're gonna just operate like that with them.
Yep.
So, you know, in a sense, it's like we need to make sure that we don't let the beliefs of others rub off on us.
Right.
Would be my advice.
Right. And so when you came back and you went back and you started selling for Vivid, you became their #1 sales rep. How many did you do in one summer?
403.
403. And you have a trophy to prove that.
Big trophy.
So just for most people that don't understand, 403, what does that equal monetarily? You know, how much money did you make selling 403 accounts in one summer?
I mean, just on sales, and I managed probably 20, 30 guys that year. It's probably like 300 grand.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And how long? Was that 4 months?
Yeah,
5
4 months.
300 grand in 4 months, knocking doors.
It's possible. A lot of people are going to say, like, that door-to-door guy, he's just got out of jail,
Yeah.
and he's all, you know what I mean? Most people think, like, oh, get a real job. Once you can get a real job, like, they'll quit door-to-door. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, dang, real jobs don't pay you that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when you prove yourself as you have in sales, you're one of the best, you move into a leadership position naturally, start training other people. And then that's really what brought us together, is because you came in and became a vice president at Solcius, one of our leaders, and created our direct side of the program. But at some point, and I want you to talk about this a little bit, you had this passion project, I'll call it, that you were working on the side. I think you started off as Can't Knock This. It was a Facebook page.
It's a Facebook group to bring salespeople together to collaborate. Really, it was my idea.
Which is cool because a lot of people don't do that in the direct sales door-to-door industry.
Yeah,
it's all about competition.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, that's my competitor. I don't want to share my nuggets.
Yeah.
But what's fun to see on that Facebook page, the D2D Can't Knock This, you get a dude that's working for ex-competitor and them two just start talking and sharing advice, and it's like, that's a better way to live versus like me win, you lose kind of mentality. But it's cool to see, like that kind of gave me the inspiration to be like, there are people that would rather collaborate instead of rip each other's heads off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think it was around, we were talking about this, around April or May of last year, so 2017. I don't know how long you'd had the Facebook page, but you had it going for a certain amount of time. When did all of a sudden this shift happen to you, like, okay, this is what I'm really passionate about, and this is what I want to go after and create? And you had that idea to come up with Door-to-Door Con. Talk about that a little bit. What happened?
Well, it's going to sound crazy, but I did a 3-day retreat and meditation retreat.
Okay.
And I went to the West Desert in southern Utah, Nevada border. And I'm not talking Zion, I'm talking like the boonies of like flatland desert. And they put us up there and they said, all right, here's a gallon of water and a protein packet, and you're gonna fast for 3 days and just sit. I'm like, okay, and I have my books and my iPad and this and that, because I'm like, oh, 3 days, that's a lot of time to sit. And they're like, no, give us all that. I'm like, oh, so I just had my journal. That was it. That's all I could take. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go on a hike and kind of like explore. And like, no, you can't leave like this radius.
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is not what I was expecting. And so we go out and I'm sitting there, and they kind of sent us with a question. They said, okay, what is your purpose? Like, what are you doing as far as contribution and giving back? And I looked at solar and I was like, this is powerful because we're helping the planet, we're helping, a lot of people save money, and helping sales reps make a great career out of themselves. But this idea came together of like, well, I could make a bigger difference as an industry leader, which there isn't one. I was like, there are no industry leaders leading the door-to-door communities. I was like, well, I already have this Facebook group. I already realized that people aren't as bad as they make it out to be when they're competing. Like, we're all the same blood, you know what I mean? And I just said, I was like, what if it would be, like, what if we could create a community or more of an association around our industry? Because that never existed.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, what are some ways that we could do that? We could have this group, we could do a conference, you know, where people come together. We do podcasts, so I started doing podcasts, and that kind of stemmed from that. You know, like this, I go interview top 1% earners and 1% leaders in roofing and satellite and solar and all different spaces door to door.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing that, and I started seeing a lot of following around the podcast. And I was like, cool, like people are actually listening to this. People are loving this. And I'm getting messages almost daily at that point, like, love what you're putting out there, this doesn't exist. And I watched sales reps over the years suffer because I could only do so much, right? You've got 30 reps or 100 reps under you or something like that. And they're all trying to win, but there's no resource out there for them, right? Other than like what you give them, they had nothing to go to. So I was like, well, what if we create content around that? We could create an event, we could create just kind of a tribe is what I call it. It's like the D2D tribe. And I started calling people, like, hey, you want to speak at my conference? And some people were kind of like, no, I don't support that. And I got a lot of flack.
So you got some rejection, like,
a lot of
doors.
Yeah, a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
I was like surprised. I was like, oh, really? He's like, I've had a lot of big names that are just like, no, dude, that's stupid. And I was like, oh, okay, like maybe next year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the surprising part, because I'm like, coming out of love, coming out of like, hey, let's contribute, let's give back, let's serve. And I think the first few people I called were like, no, you're crazy, like that's never gonna work. Like I don't, I want to sit in the back seat and just kind of like watch all this happen.
Goes right back to what you were talking about before, with some people just have limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it's the limiting belief. And it's fun to fast forward. It's actually fun to kind of reminisce on this, because you fast forward to now, and those people have been calling me and apologizing. And it's kind of like, I don't want to be like, I told you so, but it's kind of like, I did it.
Yeah.
And it worked. And they had limiting belief that it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And, I had a lot of people that actually got behind it. And the more and more it picked up momentum, the more and more influential people started saying, oh shoot, this is real.
Yeah.
I need to get behind it. And I had the VPs of Solar City and the VPs of massive companies, multi-million-dollar companies, reaching out to me saying, how do I participate?
Yeah.
That's when I knew, I'm like, okay, I got CEOs and VPs and top influencers in their fields getting behind this.
They're gaining so much momentum. If you don't mind, I want to ask you, go back to when you were in that meditation tent state.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that for just a second. Was there any, first off, 3 days is incredible. Was there ever a time where you felt like, okay, when these feelings of, hey, I can create this, was there some excitement, some energy that built when that started to happen? Was there ever a time of fear that came up? Talk about that.
No, so it's actually funny you asked that, because literally I had a vision. And I don't know if I've shared this with you.
Sure, and I love it.
I'm not a big vision guy. I don't dream. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I dreamt, but I had this vision, and I was like, what? And I see myself speaking on a stage in front of thousands of people, and I swear it was at the Provo Convention Center, but it was not the Provo. Like I'm like, oh, I think I recognize that place. I'm like, what is this? And I was like, there's no way. This is not solar. I'm not going to recruit thousands of reps and be this VP of like this massive company. You know what I mean? And I was like, what is this? And that's really what it stemmed. I was like, what is that? What am I speaking in front of thousands of people on a stage? Like, and I kept asking myself, I'm like, that felt so real, but what is it? And that's really like this fear of like, man, like I'm getting called to speak on, I'm not a public speaker, I'm a door-to-door guy, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I kind of got this calling, and then all of a sudden I get kind of like nervous, because I was like, what is that? Like, that felt so real, but I don't even know that exists.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started getting more and more clarity around, and it might have not even been this year. It might be the future venue, because I still feel like the picture, the vision, the whatever I saw wasn't the stage that we had created. And I'm kind of like, maybe I've got a new stage, maybe it's 3 years from now, I don't know, but it wasn't the same. And there were more people. And so just, those that are listening, it's like my vision wasn't year 1, it had to have been year 3, year 5, I don't know. But it was me in front of thousands of people, and I still have it like ingrained in my mind. But I said, I need to go set up to create that. And if somebody's going to go create that, it's only me. Like, it's not just going to happen. I'm not going to go have a stage to go speak on. I got to go create the stage.
Yeah. Well, I know, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think most people, when they finally feel like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, this is what I'm called to do, there's some excitement, there's some energy focused around that, but then at the same time, there's also a lot of people that are afraid, like, can I do this?
Yeah, it was kind of like, nah, and then all of a sudden I'm like, no, it's happening. And then when I spoke it into existence, that's when it kind of became real.
And did that happen at the end of the 3-day event? Is that when you spoke it into existence?
No, I spoke that into existence.
At that moment?
No, when I did the Facebook post, hey, I'm throwing D2D Con, and everybody's sitting there going, I'm like, oh shoot, I just made a Facebook post about this event that I'm going to be throwing. Now I can't go back. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to throw an event, I want it to be a cool event. And I kind of stepped just one step at a time. I'm thinking, maybe we'll have a couple hundred people, if best. But I don't know. I mean, who knows what will come? And I get more and more momentum around it, and it just kept growing from there. But that Facebook post, when I spoke it into existence, is when it became like, there's no going back. I committed to this.
You're all in. You burned the boats.
Yeah, because
people say.
I didn't want to ruin my name and be like, wait, weren't you going to do this event? And then you backed out? Like, I didn't want that,
Yeah. And it's awesome that it turned out the way that it did, a massive success. And now what appears to happen is that's just the springboard to what's coming.
Yeah, I think we've scratched the surface. Like, what was interesting is at the event, my first initial thought was it's going to be a bunch of sales guys, right? It's going to be a bunch of guys that want to come learn good sales tactics. 75% of the people we went through the list were actually CEO, VP, or CEO or above.
Wow.
So I'm talking 700 something, or 600 or so CEO, VP, upper management of companies. And I think it's because a lot of people were still skeptical. Like, is this thing real? Like, I need to go check it out before I tell my people about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're all sitting there going, I'm bringing my whole company next year. I'm bringing my team. You know what I mean? And it's like, because the people that did bring their teams loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was what was different, or kind of wasn't expecting it to be like it.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to shift for just a little bit. That's
Okay.
probably good. Your little girl, your wife walked in.
I know.
What makes you the most happy?
It's a good question. I think just like seeing the impact on somebody, like when when you do something for your daughter, or you see somebody like look at you and be like, oh, thank you so much for like making that difference or making that impact.
Mm-hmm.
You get a text message from somebody that's like, hey, because of this post, or because of that video, or because of that talk, or you know what I mean, and they give you that feeling of like, you made a difference for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just that, like, when somebody actually thanks you for it is what makes me happy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we get scared to say we're thankful for that, or we're thankful, you know what I mean? We get a lot, we receive a lot, but like, just when somebody like reaches out and says thanks when you actually do something good.
Yeah.
I think mainly like with the family, like, I think seeing like your kids have, like, I think when your kids are like doing something cool, like we were talking last night about parent-teacher conference with Ellie, and Katie was sharing, she's like, your teacher said that you're smarter than a lot of people, and you're a first-time listener, and all this stuff, and it was like, oh, cool, like,
yeah,
she's doing something cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you think about it, what you highlighted on is that you put yourself out there, you give everything you have to create something really great, and then you have this deep connection with somebody afterwards when you see, I made a difference in their lives, and they're appreciative and they share gratitude for that. Also, you have a connection with that person that goes beyond just, hey, the initial thanks. You feel it, and it lasts long term. And I know I shared with you, I think I shot you a text right after the event just how proud I was of you. I was like, man, you really nailed it.
Yeah, those feelings, like those texts and those feelings, it's like, that's like what I do it for.
Yeah. And then the last thing that you hit on, you talked about your daughter and your wife. Ultimately, when you think about everything that we do and all this work that we're trying to make a difference, the people that mean the most to us are those that are right at home. You know, the people that we share our lives with. And I talk about the people who are going to cry at our funerals, right? Those are the people that really matter the most. And that's why you do all this. And I see you're an incredible father. You know, I know you love your kids. I saw that when you brought your little daughter up on stage, how much, just she means to you. And that's awesome to see. What bit of advice would you give somebody that's trying to start their own business or start to try to follow their passion, that they felt their calling, what they're really supposed to be doing in life? What advice would you give that person?
I think you can manifest pretty much anything. And this is really deep. 3 weeks before the event, I had written down a mantra. I said, here's my mantra. I'm going to unite the industry, bring up-level the standards of excellence, and bring unity to this event and profit X amount. And it was we hit over that. When I manifested the event, I said, I'm going to have 700 to 1,000 people at this thing. And it was scary because I don't, and I started to say more speak my, I manifest stuff. And it's when you start affirmations and you tell yourself you can do something every day, and you start ingraining that kind of programming that into your brain, you can go accomplish whatever you really put your mind to. And I think the problem is most people are too scared to manifest something big. And I think if they just start telling themselves that they can do something big, they can go do it.
It's awesome. Well, I think this has been great. You've shared some great stories. You've created an incredible event, and I really appreciate you just opening up and talking about your experience on how that all came about.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, because a lot of people never get to see the behind the scenes, that's for anything. You look at what goes into making the Grammys, the Grammys.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of work during the year, you know what I mean? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden they just see the end.
Yeah.
Or I think it's interesting to see where anything kind of bursts from.
Yeah. Well, it's really the day and age we live in, which is kind of the social media, the Instagram. It's where really what we're seeing a lot of is the highlights,
Exactly.
right? You see all the, I'm sure when people look at Door-to-Door Con, they see the highlight video of what happened after the event.
Yeah.
But they don't see all the behind the scenes, all the work that went into it. And like you shared, a lot of the failures that went into it, a lot of the rejection that you had to go through in order to make that event happen.
Yeah.
To get to those people that say, yes, I'll speak. Yes, I'll be a part of this.
Yeah.
So I am happy that you shared that. And so thank you very much for doing that. Well, Sam, appreciate the time.
No, I appreciate you having me on your podcast.